Bonjour all le monde, my name is Troublemaker, and this is the Wargame Cup 2012. We're into round 8, round 7, I think this is round 7. We'll just say it's round 7. So we got a pretty good match today. Representing the blue, playing NATO, is Scientology fan, and representing the red, playing also NATO, is Corsair. So we have a good old-fashioned NATO versus NATO match. I expect to see some pretty epic Martyr BTSI duels. And speed a little bit ahead so we can see some of these loadouts. Corsair very quick on the fingers. They're going to load out a lot of infantry, and that is a lot of anti-air. He's using these flak panzers, and these ones are kind of interesting because they're not quite effective against most helicopters, but they can be effective against infantry. So it looks like a very heavy anti-infantry run here. He does have a couple of toes, but not really too much of an anti-tank presence so far. And from Mr. Scientology fan, looks like some anti-tank, actually quite a bit of anti-tank. There's 8 anti-tank vehicles there, 6 or 10. A Zippo looks like not really that many units, truth be told. And not really a lot of anti-air. He's going to be using these Gazelles, and these Cobras, as his anti-air, and he's just spreading them around. It's not an all-in. He's just using these to scout positions, cover paths. This is normally a role you'd have done by about 9 or 10 infantries. And we got Corsair immediately spreading his forces around with very, very fast micro. You can see just amazing skills here, just trying to get things into relative good position before he sets up. Compared to his opponent, not so much. And whoa, we immediate have battle. Looks like Scientology fan has seen a few infantry. He can actually kill all these with this squad if he just turns around and deals with them. But it looks like Scientology fan will in fact not be doing that. There is a command here. It's protected by insidiously high amounts of anti-air. There are 6 flak panzers and an AMX rolling 2. So that should cover pretty well. And on the front lines, it looks like as a tactic we see Corsair is actually going to go ahead and try and place his forces around Echo and Foxtrot and create a nice little concave around Delta. And it has kind of a double-T effect, because what it's going to also do is deny his opponent's ability to take either of these bases. So if he decides to move up his command armor to a faster place with higher points, he will be able to do that. His opponent will not be able to match that move. And immediately we see a little bit of a push up by Corsair. Lots of moderate VTSIs going to join the fray, and this actually signals Corsair to move all of his vehicles back. Doesn't want to lose those. He does have his Yagas here, but now they're going to get routed. Nothing really here to pick them off, though, so they could quite possibly survive. Early on, Corsair takes a pretty strong lead. His little opening push snuck out just enough units, and here comes some helicopters positioned strategically to try and wipe out a unit, and looks like we're going to see some minor moves in the woods with some chasseurs FAMAS playing against these Jagers. There's an overwhelming number of vehicles here, and in fact the chasseurs FAMAS are not going to engage. They probably could have been able to win this battle, but with them pulling out, not looking good. And it looks like some more TPZ folks are going to come rally in, but whoa, the chasseurs FAMAS are kind of coming in the right time, and actually this battle should be winnable by the chasseurs FAMAS. Now, it's kind of interesting to note that Scientology fan has in fact gone for a ridiculous amount of artillery. Actually, he's gone for 4 of them. And artillery are one of these things that don't particularly do very well early on. One, artillery is pretty good because it allows you to stun, it allows you to gain position, it allows you to weed out a lot of infantry. But en masse doesn't do so well. But here we go. Helicopters actually going to get shot down by the Martyr Roland, and yeah, like just a really solid defensive play there. He's actually going to rally out another group of units here just to kind of spot for that helicopter again. Not going to take any risks. This is not the big round yet. Next round's going to be the crazy big round, and both players desperately want to get into that one. And whoa, look what we have here. Corsair has moved an infantry flank all the way around the map. This was the infantry that was caught by the helicopter, but unfortunately didn't really mobilize. And now he's going to create positions around the rally point of Scientology fan. Doesn't look like he's really going to try to engage the command armor here. He probably could have taken it out, but not really going to play too particularly risky. He even has a tow here, but he doesn't really have an anti-air vehicle, and that will cause him a few problems because he doesn't really look like he's going to be rushing. Instead, he's going to try and take a position here and be obnoxious. My favorite. I think this is tactically a mistake for Corsair. I think if he would have rushed up with all 8 or 10 to this location, it would have been much, much better. He doesn't know where it is, of course, and that's, I think, the big part of this spread. He's probably assuming that the command armors are probably around here, and it's actually very good on Scientology fan to play what we call the meta game. Speaking of which, he's brought out a Luke's. Luke's are very, very good for anti-infantry purposes. They're mostly invisible to most things in the game. Even Spec Ops have problems seeing Luke's, so that's a very good choice. And looks like these Shotzers got pushed to the woods by these Jaegers. They're just going to go back in and get slaughtered. But yeah, he can most definitely use this unit. And for some reason, Scientology fan pulled his command number over to Bravo. And now he's moving it back. And the response from Corsair was actually rallying some infantry here, which, of course, not really going to be particularly useful anymore. But yeah, lots of infantry here. Oh yeah, it was a Scientology fan really playing the metagame really well. So what I mean by that is that when you look at places for command armors, you expect to be here, because that's the furthest away from your enemy and most secure location, or in this area here, where you can marshal a fair amount of infantry and anti-air. The furthest up location is the most unexpected, especially because if there's a recon here and a rocket, this thing instantly dies. So that's kind of an interesting spot to play. It's not a position that I would recommend in regular play, just because regular players are not thinking as, I don't want to say abstractly, but as counter strategically. The idea of doing something because you expect someone to do something and they expect you to do something, so you do something back. They don't think like that, and that's something you'll see probably uniquely in the tournament. It's not, there's not that all plays in the tournament are bad, but there's going to be a few of them that are particularly bad. Jaegers are going to secure this nice little empty warehouse. Yes, it is an empty warehouse. No barrels in here. There is some sort of vent in here, though. And that's a weird place for a vent. Usually that would be on the roof. Oh, Eugen. You and your French building models. So, speaking of 2 VABs, I'm going to try and rush in and help clean up here. He needs to drop them, of course, and here we go. Shots must not drop in time, and looks like they should get cleaned up by the Jaegers. Which, but wait, we have a little bit of support fire here, but still not enough. 1 hit point left on that Jaeger. And slowly, Scientology fan is cleaning up this little flank here as well, just using small groups of infantry and VABs, and that will get Scientology fan mostly caught up. He's going to be, what, 80 behind or so? That's not too bad. And here comes some helicopters trying to pick off what it can. He actually, Corsair managed to steal 2 of these supply trucks, and we'll be able to supply his units here. Now keep in mind, Scientology fan really needs these supply trucks because he's gone for a lot of artillery, and in order for these mortars to be effective, they have to pretty much be constantly firing, which means constant supply trucks. And since he doesn't have an FOB, he's going to be paying for every single shot they fire. So we have a VAB in the distance that's going to get gunned down by some helicopters. That's kind of neat. And in the woods, it appears that Scientology fan has pretty much dealt with all this. There is a Fuchs here. I know, if you change the H into a K, it's a completely different thing, but it's there. And yeah, a VAB is going to come in, might be able to snatch back some of these supply trucks. He might want to use the fire position command with this TPZ Fuchs on a random location just so he can kind of get rid of some of the supply and burn up some supply. It's these small cheap tricks that are kind of fun. Realistically, the only player I've ever seen do cool cheap stuff is like probably General Binks. He does a lot of cheap cool stuff, and maybe like Komarami does really cheap cool stuff that snipes individual units, and there's such minor things that you shouldn't even care. So 100-point lead here for Corsair. There's still lots of room for Scientology fan to come up with, and these little cutesy moves here will make the big difference. This Gazelle should be able to do some pretty significant damage to the Jaeger, but whoa, we have a Chaparral! Completely out of ammunition, however, but he doesn't know that, and he's going to pull back, he's going to play safe. All the while, Marta VTSI with tow. This is really not enough units to do this push. He would need a lot more buffering units, and by buffering units, I mean like P-55s, or, wait, NATO don't have to, like Leopard 1s, or infantry, or something cheaper than this, but he's going to go ahead and do this. If he can kill one of these Wee cells, he might be able to make this worthwhile. The Wee cells are redeploying against the Marta VTSI, though. They realize what the risk is right now. One of them will go down. The Marder VTSI difference, only one of them left. There were originally two, and there goes the other one. Down from rocket fire. The TOW is completely out of ammunition, as is the other tank destroyer, the M150, which both have to pull back now. And the Cobra going to try and pick off some of these infantry. And note, there are now 3 commands on the map for Corsair. He rallied one to this forward location. It's going to give him a very good forward base, and he's actually going to rally at some starships. Interesting choice. I don't find them particularly useful myself because they're kind of a anti-air, anti-infantry hybrid. But Corsair is an interesting player, and he has something very specific in mind for them. Similar to how he has a position for these flak panzers, which basically in the current metagame no one really uses. However, he's going for a very high meta spam, and I guess Scientology fan is going to tap out. It sees a 500-point difference being too much. And in fact, Corsair will be moving on to the next round. The round of 8. Round 8. So we got one more match for the day, and then I guess I start round 8 coverage. So thank you guys for watching, and watch the next video. Should be good.